I'm starting with medical mycology section, and the first part is general mycology, and then after covering general mycology I will move on to special mycology. At the end of this session you should be able to describe a fungus, its nutritional requirements, the structure of a fungus, especially there are various types of fungi. You should be able to name and classify various types of mycoses, differences between fungi and bacteria, and laboratory diagnosis of fungal diseases. Both of these are very important. What is medical mycology? It is the study of fungi causing diseases in human beings. What is a fungus? It is an eukaryotic organism, that is, it has a true nucleus. There is also a cell wall which contains chitin, and this chitin is composed of N-acetylglucosamine and beta-glucan. This beta-glucan is a long polymer of D-glucose, and the medical importance of beta-glucan is that it is the site of action of certain antifungal drugs, for example, caspofungin. Fungi also have a cell membrane which is composed of ergosterol, in contrast to human cell membrane which contains cholesterol. The selective action of amphotericin B and azole drugs such as fluconazole and ketoconazole on fungi is based on this difference in membrane sterols. Fungi also produce filamentous structures and spores, and we will discuss about these filamentous structures and spores later on. Nutritional requirements of a fungus. Most of the fungi are obligate aerobes, some are facultative anaerobes, but none are obligate anaerobes. All fungi require a preformed organic source of carbon, hence their frequent association with decaying matter. The natural habitat of most of fungi is therefore the environment. An important exception is Candida albicans, which is part of normal human flora. Differences between bacteria and fungi. Diameter, approximately 4 micrometer, for example in case of Candida, and the diameter of bacteria is approximately 1 micrometer. The example is that of Staphylococcus. Nucleic acid type, fungi are eukaryotic, bacteria are prokaryotic. Cytoplasm contains mitochondria and endoplasmic reticulum, whereas all of these two components are absent in case of bacteria. Ribosome is 80S in fungi and 70S in bacteria. Sterols are present in fungal cell membrane, and these are absent in bacterial cell membrane except in case of mycoplasma. So there is an exception. Cell wall content, chitin is present in fungal cell wall, whereas peptidoglycan is present in case of bacterial cell wall. Spores are sexual and asexual for reproduction purpose, and in case of bacteria there are endospores. They are just for survival, they are not meant for reproduction. Nutritional requirements. Fungi require organic carbon. There are no obligate anaerobes, and in case of bacteria many do not require organic carbon and many are obligate anaerobes. Method of replication in case of fungi, either by budding or mitosis, and it is by binary fission in case of bacteria. Thermal dimorphism is present in certain fungi. We will discuss what is this thermal dimorphism in the next slide. And in case of bacteria, there is no thermal dimorphism. So these are the differences between bacteria and fungi. There are various types of fungi. The first one is yeast. These are ovoid cells that reproduce by asexual process known as budding. Then there are molds. These are filamentous structures that reproduce by sexual or asexual method by forming spores. Then is dimorphic fungus. It forms different structures at different temperatures. It can form molds in environment or soil and yeasts in human tissues. Types of fungal filaments. Before that, you just need to understand what is a hyphae. It is an elongated thread-like branching filament of even width, and it grows by apical elongation. And if there is elongated mass of hyphae, this is called as mycelium. Now there are various types of hyphae: septate hyphae, aseptate hyphae, or coenocytic hyphae. Then there are vegetative and aerial hyphae. So these are the aerial and the vegetative hyphae. Then there are certain pseudo hyphae, false hyphae. So what is a septate hyphae? These are the hyphae containing cross walls, septa or cross walls, as you can see over here in this picture, which divide them into uninuclear cell-like units. In case of aseptate hyphae, you can see that there are no cross walls, no septa, and they look like one long filamentous structure, and they are multinucleated. So this is also known as coenocytic hyphae or aseptate hyphae. Okay, then you have these aerial hyphae, which are above the surface of the media, vegetative hyphae, which are submerged in the media, then pseudohyphae. These are chain of elongated cells. For example, in case of yeast, they are formed by budding. The septa are curved, as you can see, and there is septum and constriction at the origin of branches. Cell walls are constricted at septa. If you compare this with true hyphae, like in this case, the walls are parallel, septa are not constricted, cell walls are not constricted at septa, the septa are not curved. So the pseudohyphae is mostly formed in case of Candida, which is a very good example of these pseudohyphae. Fungal spores. These are fruiting bodies produced for sexual or asexual reproduction. They are of two types, asexual spores and sexual spores. The asexual spores are formed by budding and mitosis, and these spores include chlamydospores, arthrospores, blastospores, and sporangiospores. Arthrospores arise by fragmentation of ends of hyphae. Chlamydospores are rounded, thick-walled, and quite resistant structures. Candida albicans is the example of these chlamydospores. Then are blastospores. They are formed by the budding process by which yeasts reproduce asexually. Some yeasts, for example Candida albicans, can form multiple buds that do not detach, thus producing sausage-like chains called pseudohyphae, and they are used for identification. We have discussed about pseudohyphae in our previous slide. They are not true hyphae. Then are sporangiospores. They are formed within a sac which is called as sporangium, and this is on a stalk. The examples are Rhizopus and Mucor. Then there are conidia, which are also asexual reproductive structures. They are present on a specialized hyphae which are called as conidiophores. There are two types of conidia, macroconidium and microconidium. Sexual spores. These are formed as a result of meiosis process. These are ascospores, zygospores, and basidiospores. Zygospores are single large spores with thick wall. Ascospores are formed within a sac which is called as ascus. Basidiospores, they are formed externally on the tip of pedestal which is called as basidium. The classification of fungi is based on their sexual spores. Fungi that do not form sexual spores are termed imperfect and are classified as fungi imperfecti.